Hey guys, coming back for the season of Younger, because yes, I am still watching the show, and I just finished the second season. Of course, the finale happened last night, and with that said, let's get into this season, and I was really looking forward to this season. You guys know season 1 was a big surprise for me. I really loved it. I really loved the way that things were left off in season 1, and I was definitely interested in seeing how season 2 would be. Definitely, the way that things were left off in season 1. Season 2, I wasn't really sure what exactly was going to happen. If, we were gonna see Liza tell more people who she really was, or if she was gonna be able to keep this secret, what was gonna happen with that. I was interested in seeing really what they were gonna do with that. And I have to say, the first half of Younger Season 2, I thought was a very strong season, and I definitely really enjoyed it. But towards the end, I honestly had no idea what they were doing, and I'll get into that. But let's get to the season of Younger overall, because there are a lot of things I want to talk about. Not as much as some of my other reviews that I've done, because I don't have a lot to say about the season. I have a lot more to say about the first half than the second half. But let's just get into the season. I think the main thing I want to talk about is the relationship between Liza and Josh, because for me, this was one of the strongest parts of this season. Liza and anyone, honestly, is very strong this season, but Liza and Josh particularly is very interesting, and I like the way they did this, because Josh is now, things are different between these two. She's no longer hiding anything from him, and now that she's told him that she's 40, we didn't really know what he was going to do, but I like that Josh wasn't upset. Like, he still wants them to date, even though she's 40, and even though he knows that she's way out of it, way too old for him. He doesn't care. He didn't love her because of the fact that, she said that she was 26. He cares about her and genuinely wants to be with her, and I like that. I like this relationship between these two. You see that he really accepts her, and I think the chemistry between them as a whole, between Liza and Josh, Sutton Foster and Nico Toro, Tor sorry, I can't pronounce his last name. Tortorella, there you go. I'm sorry, I couldn't pronounce his last name. I think the chemistry between these two is even stronger this season. You really see that, he cares about her and he wants to be with her, and I like that relationship overall. One of the strongest things about the season by far were their scenes together, and it's a bit thrilling, though, because you don't really know if it's going to work between these two, if they're going to be able to stay together, and you see right away, as we know, in the last episode of season 1, they did end up breaking up, and, they did end up parting ways. We see that Josh now no longer works in that band. He doesn't work there anymore. He works in this tattoo place, and the way that they meet up, I actually thought was very, very interesting, because we know that Caitlin, Liza's daughter, is back in the mix. She comes back, course, in season 1, and now she's moved in with Liza, and it's an interesting situation where, you don't know if Liza's going to tell Caitlin her situation, if she's going to be able to hide what she's doing, because, of course, Caitlin has no idea that Liza is pretending to be, that her mother's pretending to be, 26. She has no idea about that. Liza's to hide it as much as possible, and the way that was done, I think, was very clever, the way that Liza tried to hide it. She pretended she didn't know Josh, things like that, and she tried to be very careful with those things. Definitely you saw that, and I like Caitlin overall. I thought she was good. She didn't really do much for me. Like, she didn't really add to the show, and it was something that I really wanted to do more with, and she really, for me, didn't really do much of anything. I mean, she was there, and then they kind of just got rid of her. Like, she said, all right, I'm not doing this. I'm going to go move back in with Dad, and then she just left, and they bring her back again in episode 11, but again, they don't really do anything with her. Her father comes back, they go on a little thing, and that's really my biggest problem with this season. They start up plots, and then they realize they're not going anywhere, and they just end them, and for me, there wasn't really a clear direction of what they wanted to do this season. Because at first it seemed like what the big, dilemma was this season is Liza and Kelsey. The fact that Kelsey, and Liza are getting closer, and the fact that Kelsey is running this new thing, basically this new article about millennials and how important they are, and trying to start this whole business, basically, I thought was a very interesting direction to take her storyline, and you really see that Liza does this first. She really cares about her, but Liza also is really worried because, one, she's not a millennial, she's not actually millennial, so she doesn't really know and have much experience, as Kelsey thinks that she does, because Kelsey thinks she has all this experience and she really doesn't. And I like that dynamic overall between Liza and Kelsey. You guys know that. But at the same time, she really does want to help Kelsey. She sees her passion. She sees it as something she really wants to do. And I like seeing that. One of the strongest episodes by far is episode 3, where you see that Liza, and Josh are going through their own problems. And Kelly, she's trying to help out Kelsey. And I like seeing that. I thought they did a very good job with that scene. I definitely really enjoyed that. What didn't work for me is when they brought Jade, that character of Jade, into everything, this fashion blogger. She did not work at all. I'm glad glad they got rid of her when they did. She was not working. This was a girl that, she's this fashion blogger, and she looks at, Kelsey's writing this book about millennials, and Jade tries to change a bunch of things. She doesn't really like it, and she's also a ex-girlfriend of Josh's, which I really felt they just did that to add drama. Like, it really didn't contribute to anything. Luckily, they did get rid of her, but then they drop the Kelsey millennial plot completely, and we don't really go back to it. After that, I didn't really know where they were trying to go with the show anymore, because after episode 6, I didn't really think the show had as clear of a direction. I mean, definitely you could tell that Liza's secret was becoming a problem, and it seemed like she was going to tell Kelsey, but she never tells her this season. That's the thing that really annoyed me, is the fact that Liza and Kelsey, they didn't really do anything with them. Like, Liza and Kelsey are in the same exact place they are at the end of the season that they were in the beginning of the season, and I was pretty pissed off about that, definitely. I mean, you see that these two are getting closer, definitely, and that's something I did like. They used Kelsey a lot more this season, and not that they didn't last season, but they used a lot more of her here. The problem was, after the millennial plot, Kelsey has a really stupid plot with her, boyfriend slash eventually fiance Thad. Her and Thad are going through a lot of relationship problems, such as he wants sex and she's not giving it to him, and you start to see that Thad is kind of a douche. He really is. He's not a nice guy. He really starts to give in to Kelsey more, and you start to think that maybe Thad is cheating on her, that he works in this job and he's having sex with all these women, and eventually Kelsey finds out what's going on with Thad, and she doesn't know if he actually is cheating on her, but she tells him point blank, look, unless you're gonna tell me the truth, we're not having sex. And I did like Thad's line, though, where he's like, she's like, my vagina is no longer available, and he's like, is your mouth still available? I thought that was pretty funny. But Thad as a character, I kind of think they ruined this season. I mean, Thad could have been a really fun character, and they could have done some really fun things between him and Kelsey and show that he really does care about her. But really this season, Thad just became a playboy that didn't give a shit about Kelsey and wanted nothing to do with her. And I was kind of upset. I wanted Kelsey and Thad to kind of go through something where he said, no, that's not who I am, and, I'm not really that person. I want to have some sweet scenes between them. But no, we find out that Thad is, in fact, a man whore. He's cheated on all these, he's having sex with all these women, and even though it's his, part of his job, and that's kind of what everyone does in his job, it's still no excuse, obviously. And, when Liza finds out, she pretty much tries to, what she tries to do, she tries to blackmail Thad, because he pretty much finds out Liza's secret, and she says, look, if you're not going to tell Kelsey, then, I'm going to basically reveal everything that happened. If he says that, he's going to reveal her secret, and it's a very tense situation. You don't know what's going to happen, and then they just kill him off. Literally, they just kill him off after, he refuses to, agree with Liza's terms, and I understand the point of that was to show that Thad has no power over Liza. I understand that, but the fact they just killed him off, I mean, it was ballsy, definitely. It was ballsy, don't get me wrong, but again, it didn't really contribute to anything, and for me, it didn't really change anything this season. I mean, it seemed like it was going to change something, but it didn't do anything. It didn't benefit the finale, and I will get into that, but that's what they do with Kelsey, and I was quite disappointed. I really wanted them to do more with her, and they didn't. And then as far as Josh and Liza go, things get a lot more tense between them, because Josh starts, going, there's other women in his life and things like that, and when Josh gets interviewed for this New York Times article, he doesn't mention Liza, which she's okay with, but Kelsey and Lauren, who has a lot more to do this season, are not, they're not happy about it. They think that Josh, isn't really doesn't care about Liza as much, and this gets them to break up. They do break up, and I'm happy they broke up, but it's not over the reasons I wanted to break up. I wanted them to break up because I wanted Josh to realize that he really can't be with Liza, even though they want to be together. They don't have a future together, and it's sad to see, definitely, that him and Liza didn't work out, but they do break up, and after that, I don't really think the show had a clear direction of where they were headed for the rest of the season, because, like I said, it seemed like the big thing of the season was Liza's secret, and then they do a couple episodes, but it never really felt like it was that much at risk until episode 11, but then the one person that could have complicated things and could have told Kelsey gets killed off, and that was really dumb. It seemed like they just wanted to stick to the norm, and I was very pissed off that they did that. Honestly, I thought that was really dumb. The other character that has nothing really to do this season is Diana, and, Diana Diana, she does kind of have stuff to do. Like, she's trying to make Enterprise better, and she's trying to make sure that Enterprise survives and things like that, because they have all these setbacks after what happened with Jade. There's this brief character that comes into play. I can't remember his name right now, but I did like his character overall. Redmond, I think his name was Michael Urie's character. He did a good job. No, actually, was it Michael Urie? I can't remember. There was a character that came in that she kind of has a brief thing with, and then he just kind of goes away. So Diana especially got very shoehorned, and the fact that she's a main character and Thad had more to do than her is ridiculous. She had really nothing much, to contribute to this season, and she didn't really have the funny quips that she had. She had some fun quips overall, but there really wasn't anything that memorable with her character, and I was kind of disappointed with that, and I really was kind of upset. And at first, she does have a thing with Charles, and I kind of like their relationship, but then that kind of goes away, things like that. So Diana didn't really have, like I said, much to do, and I really want to see more for her to do. And Maggie as well. Maggie doesn't need a huge plot. She doesn't. I mean, she's Liza's best friend. That's all they really need. But I did like that they tried to do a bit more with her, and that is that Maggie and Lauren are now in this really sexual relationship, which is very funny, and especially the fact that Liza has to hide her secret in front of Lauren. It's a good situation, but again, it never felt intense. It never felt like the stakes were really that high, and that Liza, was very close to exposing who she really was to Lauren. It never felt like that was a problem, and that was something that I really had a problem with. Like I said, it never really felt like the stakes were that high until episode 11, and then when it seemed like things were going to get crazy, they just killed off that, and I was very upset they did that. I really wasn't a fan of that, and I didn't like the way that was handled, I have to say. Definitely, I didn't love that, and I really was not a fan of that. If I had to pick a favorite episode this season, without a doubt, I think my favorite episode this season is probably episode 3. Like I said, the one with Kelsey. I love the way that episode was done. Just everything about it was great. You really saw the relationship between these two, this friendship between these two. You see that Liza really is friends with Kelsey. This is no longer her just pretending. Like, she actually is friends with her, and she does really care about her, and that's the reason why she does want to tell her what's going on. That was the episode where it felt like things were the most at stake, and there was all this tension, and they did a good job with that, but then they kind of just went away from it, and they focused more on side plots rather than they did the main plot. And I think that's the main problem with this season. They tried to do a bunch of side plots, and in the end, they didn't really contribute to anything, especially Kelsey and Thad. That didn't really do anything. I'll get into the finale when we get there, but then we get what it by far is the most bizarre episode of the season. After the episode with, her and Josh breaking up, we get a very out of touch, a very bizarre episode. I have no idea what they were thinking here with the episode called The Good Shepherd. Basically, Liza meets this guy, Sebastian. He lives in the country. He's basically now a country guy. He lives in the country. He doesn't, he's not into the city life and things like that, which is an interesting setup. But the thing is, you have Matthew Morrison here. You have Matthew Morrison, a very well-known actor and a very good actor. Let me just say, I know a lot of people don't think he's a good actor. I think he's a very strong actor. They don't do literally anything with him. I mean, they do one joke with him. They had him in this episode. It seemed like he was going to develop something with Liza, and maybe he could do something for Enterprise, but then Liza thinks he's having sex with a sheep, and he claims that he was just grooming her, but Liza doesn't see it that way. She runs off terrified, and it was just stupid. It really was. I didn't like that they didn't do anything there. Again, nothing really happened between Sebastian and Liza, and I really wasn't a fan of that, I have to say. Definitely, that's the thing. That whole thing, I was like, no, this is really stupid. Why they do that? And that episode in general, I really wasn't a fan of at all, I have to say. By far, the worst episode of Younger is The Good Shepherd. And there are some good scenes in that episode, but after that, it was just like, this is really dumb, and I don't know why they tried to do that. But yeah, like I said, there aren't many things that last this season, and there really wasn't a clear direction of what they wanted to do this season. Like I said, it really seemed like the main direction is, how last season focuses on Liza's relation with Josh. This season seemed like it was going to focus on her relationship with Kelsey and how that's such a detriment to, her hiding her secret and everything. And we never get that chance where Liza's going to tell Kelsey what's going on. I mean, there are times when it seems like she's going to tell her. There's even a scene where, you think she's going to tell her, and she doesn't get a chance to, and they always, keep her from telling her, and it's really annoying. I understand that season 2, and we want to keep this going on, but how long can she keep this secret? I just don't understand how long she can keep from her. It really started to piss me off, and especially the finale. The finale wasn't bad, let me just say. The finale was not, I think, a bad finale by any means, but it really was abrupt, and it really seemed like they only added things to this finale because they wanted to create tension and build up for the next season. Because first of all, you have Thad's death, which in hindsight was very shocking. shocking, and I thought was very well handled, I have to say, the way it was just done with him just having something fall on his head, because that can just randomly happen in New York. I mean, in New York, construction's really bad, things can just fall on your head. Of course, was at the right time for Thad, but this didn't really do anything. What I thought this was gonna do is Liza realizing, oh shit, Thad's dead. He was gonna expose me. Let me just tell Kelsey what he was gonna do, so that way Kelsey's not concerned and not thinking about what Thad was gonna do, and it just protects me in the end, and that, if she hears it from me, things could be better. That's what I thought Liza was gonna do, and that's what she wants to do. The problem is she never gets a chance to, and there's even a scene in the episode where, again, she's about to tell Kelsey, and she doesn't tell her. She doesn't tell her, because Kelsey cuts her off, and there's something more she's going through, and I did like the idea of Kelsey not crying over Thad, and then finally crying, when Liza returns, which I'll get into. But basically, Liza ends up getting a new position, basically, from this other guy, this other job, and she ends up leaving Enterprise. She leaves Enterprise because she just doesn't want to be there anymore, which felt really out of place. I mean, there hasn't been anything this season where it seemed like, oh yeah, Liza doesn't like Enterprise. It seems like she actually really did enjoy Enterprise, and she wanted to be there, and, even though it was, not really her job, she wanted to be there, and I like seeing that. And she goes to this other job. She's literally there just for one day, and all of a sudden Charles comes to her for whatever reason, and Charles, she's not budging or everything. She's now at this, I believe, chocolate shop or whatever. She's in New Jersey, and Charles comes to visit her, and Charles just in the moment tells her, is telling her, and I love the way his scene was playing out. He says, I'm older and you're younger and everything, and he's talking about how, it's just creep between them, and then to top it off, he just kisses her right out of the blue after he just told her that we're not going to work out. So he's a complete hypocrite. I have no idea what that happened, and I don't like this at all. I've never seen Charles and Liza's relationship, and it's not that I don't want these two together, it's that there was no build-up between these two whatsoever. We didn't see anything of Charles pining over Liza, or Charles wanting to be with Liza, or him really thinking, this girl is 26 and I'm in my 40s, can this really work out between us, and can we really be together? There wasn't really anything with that. There was a funny scene where Liza accidentally texts Charles instead of Josh. There was that, and, she texted him something, sexy, and it was meant to be to Josh, but that had nothing to do with what was going on here. This was literally Charles kissing her, and then all of a sudden, Josh wants her back. It seems like her and Josh are back together, while Charles seems like he wants to be with her. Now we have this love triangle to deal with, which I'm really pissed off about. You guys know that's like the worst thing that could happen to shows, and this, it just seemed like they did it to add drama. Then all of a sudden, we see she returns back to Enterprise, and Kelsey finally cries over what happened, basically, and at the end of this episode, we end with Liza and Josh back together. She now has a dilemma with Charles. Who's she gonna pick? And that's basically how the season ends. So like I said, really not much going on this season. And it wasn't a bad season by any means. I don't think this was a bad season. This wasn't a bad finale. There were just a lot of underutilized themes. And the thing that kept me back to the show is the acting. The acting is still great. The performances are great. They still are great characters. They just didn't really do much with them. Kelsey could have had a much better storyline than what she ultimately got. I think Diana could have a lot more to do. Maggie especially, I mean, she's by far the most underutilized character in the show, without a doubt. And Lauren, you upgrade Lauren to a series regular, and you do absolutely nothing with her. I mean, Lauren was still a recurring character, and yet they upgraded her this season, and they didn't really do anything with her except her just, giving Liza advice, and her just with Maggie in the sexual relationship. There wasn't much else going on there besides that. And the laughs this season aren't that constant. There weren't a lot of moments like I can say, oh yeah, that was really funny, or that really stuck out. I can't really, there really weren't a few, there were moments that made me laugh, obviously, but there's nothing really memorable when it comes to laughs, and I think the drama was very good in the first half of the season, and they really set it up to be a much more dark season. Like, it seemed like we were going in a very dark direction, and that was going to be a lot harder for Liza to keep the secrets, and I was thinking the finale, she would finally tell Kelsey what's going on, and she didn't, and that's really what pissed me off. Like I said, this season, they start up a lot of plots, they just go away, and it really seemed like they just didn't have a clear direction of what they want to do this season, and I'm not necessarily going to blame the writers for that. I think they had some really cool ideas. They just didn't work in the end. They didn't all come together, and that happens. Sometimes you have an idea and it doesn't work, and that was exactly the case here. These ideas, on paper, they might have sound good, but they just didn't really work out in the end, and they just didn't all the way come together. But overall, guys, I am looking forward to next season, definitely. I want to see what they do next season, and I hope next season they do have a clear direction, because like I said, they didn't really have a clear plot. Like, last season's plot was very obvious. Liza's hiding the secret. separate from Josh. Her and Josh, they're in this relationship and it's very hard for them to be together. And that was basically what it focused on. It focused on her and Josh. This season, it seemed like it was going to focus more on her and Kelsey, and they really didn't dive more into that. I wanted them to do more with it. But let me know what you guys saw this season. Like I said, I still do really like this show. It's just this season really was a sophomore slump. This is the perfect example of a sophomore slump. They wanted to top the first season. They didn't top it. They had some ideas that could have potentially topped it, but they didn't. And there's no episode this season that I think was truly perfect. There really isn't. There isn't a single episode this season that I think was perfect, except for episode 3. The first 3 episodes I think were by far the best. First 3 episodes were great. Then when they introduced Jade, I'm like, I'm not really into this. Then she went away, and then they broke up Liza and Josh, and then they didn't really do anything from there. And like I said, it just, they didn't have a clear direction. Let me know what you guys saw this season. Love to hear your thoughts on it. We'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for Daredevil, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.